I am working on my website right now, KetoFocus.com, and I'm looking at some of my favorite keto recipes. One of my favorite keto treats that I've made before is the keto frosted animal cookies. And I didn't have a video on it yet, so I decided to film it again so that I could show you guys how to make them because they are so good. They're so cute. They're fun to make. I love the little animal shapes, and they're amazing, and they last forever too. I usually make some and store them in my freezer and keep them that way. But I was on my computer and realizing, one, this needs a video, but two, I need to revamp the photos on this as well. I want just some cool different types of photos. But let's get started on this recipe because it's really easy to make, except for cutting out the cookie shapes can be time consuming, but making up the batter itself is super simple. Start with these keto animal cookies, we are going to sift together our dry ingredients. So you're going to need 1.5 cups of almond flour, 1/4 cup of coconut flour, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're gonna sift those together using a sifter. This will just help it get this finer texture within the flours because this is a delicate cookie. It has a delicate crumb when you bite into it. So we want that delicate flour mixture. So that's why I recommend sifting it. If you don't have a sifter, just whisk it together and try and break up some of those larger clumps that might form because of the almond flour. Once that's done, we're gonna set it aside and move on to our wet ingredients. In a large bowl, you wanna cream 3/4 cups of unsalted butter along with 1/2 cup of sweetener. I'm gonna be using a monkfruit blend sweetener. You could use the sweetener of your choice, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Once that's creamed together and combined, you're gonna slowly add in your dry ingredients, mix it all up until it's combined, and then just take all of that dough, we're gonna place it on plastic wrap, flatten it down into a disc shape, and then refrigerate it for around a half hour. The point of refrigerating the dough is that you want it to be a stiffer dough. You're gonna roll it out into around 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick. And this will just make it easier to roll out and work with too when you punch these out into cookie shapes. While my dough is in the refrigerator, chilling, doing its thing, I wanted to just get on my computer and do some research of how I want my photos to look. Which brings me to today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. It's a place where you can explore some new skills or just develop some current interests that you might have. For me, I'm always trying to learn how to be a better food photographer, and one person that I get a lot of information from on how to take excellent food photos is Tabitha Park, and she is on Skillshare. She has this course called Colorful Flat Lays, where you're taking artistic photos of everyday objects, and I just thought that that was the perfect course for me to take on how I wanted to style my frosted animal cookies. And the first 1,000 people that use my link in the description box will get a free trial of the Skillshare Premium membership. After that, it's only around $10 a month. So whether you're looking to fend off boredom, wanting to learn something new, or be a part of the community, Skillshare is the place for you. So once your dough has been sitting in the refrigerator for around a half hour, place it in between 2 sheets of parchment paper and then roll it out, like I said, to around 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick. And then I have these small animal cookie cutters. I'll have them linked down below if you guys are interested in the ones that I used. But you're just gonna punch out your shapes and then transfer your shape to a parchment lined baking tray. If you feel like your cookie dough is getting a little bit too soft, it's hard for it to retain that shape, then just put the dough back in the refrigerator, let it harden again, and then bring it back out and punch some more out. You kind of have to work quickly just because that dough does soften pretty fast. After your shapes are on your parchment paper, we're not gonna bake them just yet. We're gonna put them in the refrigerator for another 10 to 15 minutes. This will just, again, help them keep their shape so that when they do bake, they don't spread out. We want them to be like that perfect animal cookie shape. Once they're ready to bake, you're gonna bake them in a 350-degree oven for around 6 minutes. 6 minutes. You just want to bake them until the edges start to get a little tiny bit golden brown, but not too browned. Remove them from the oven, let them to continue to rest on that baking tray for a few minutes before transferring them to a wire rack. These cookies are super delicate when they're warm, so it's easy to, if you were to grab them, it's easy for them to fall apart. So they need to cool pretty much completely before you can handle them. When your cookies have cooled, now it's time to frost them. So I'm using sugar-free white chocolate to frost my cookies. You can keep one color white to go with the white animal cookies, and you could add a few drops of food coloring in, some pink food coloring, to make the pink color for those ones. Then just dip your cookies into the melted chocolate, put them back on a baking tray or parchment paper to set, and then sprinkle them with some sprinkles. Now the traditional sprinkles that are on a frosted animal cookies, these little pearls, they're not keto friendly. Of course, they have some sugar in them. I don't think there is a keto friendly version out there yet. There are keto friendly sprinkles out there, but they don't really look like an animal cookie sprinkle. So if you were super strict keto, then yes, use some sugar-free sprinkles or just omit them. But if you don't mind like a few extra, I don't even think it's going to add up to that much grams of sugar, by just having like 10 little sprinkles of these non-keto pearl-like sprinkles on there, then just go for that. To help set your chocolate, just put them in the freezer for around 5 minutes or so to help harden the chocolate. The macros for these keto frosted animal cookies are pretty good. I say it makes around 36 animal crackers, so this will make 36 servings. So the macros are divvied up into one animal cracker. So one cookie is 74 calories, 6.3 grams of fat, 3.4 total carbs, 0.7 net carbs, and 0.8 grams of protein. So really good macros on these. Once again, I love these. They're so fun. My kids love them. My husband loves it when I make these too. It's really easy to make. And one of the tips that I have for you guys when it comes to making these is that this dough, you can freeze it. So you can make up the dough, freeze it, or store it in the refrigerator for a few days if you don't want to make up your cookies right away.